Bits and Bones, my name is Lady V, and welcome to my channel. Today I just wanted to share a quick little bit of advice slash personal experience on trying to fit into an artistic style. In an earlier video I'll link in the card above, I talked a bit about branding and how to stick out when I overhauled my Medium publication with a cohesive aesthetic. But what I didn't talk about was my process of trial and error while doing that and what I learned from it. My whole life, when it came to art, I've been pretty good at hitting whatever goal I set. If I wanted to make a brushy oil painting of a still life, I'd make one. If I fancied a chibi character in watercolor for a Valentine's Day card, I'll do it in a jiffy. If I wanted anything in any medium, well, you get the picture. And I've never been terribly dissatisfied with those products. They're not masterpieces, and I've got no actual mastery of any of those mediums, but they'd always turn out roughly how I wanted. And I'll link in the description below another video on how doing this totally screwed me over. But the point is, from start to finished product, I could pretty much make anything that I wanted. And that process never really involved the limitation of a specific style, aka my style, because I don't have one. Everything I made was vastly different because its goal was to match whatever wild random project that I wanted at the time. And because my projects have been so singular and far apart, I never noticed. I guess I do have a style. We all do. Some, inherent style. Now, I say that, and I have nothing to show you to prove that. I don't have a style, but I do have a not style. Things that I am not inclined to or very good at. Of course, you can fix things that you're not good at with practice. Like, most artists struggle with hands, and it's just a matter of practicing them. And I'm not saying that you should run from your responsibilities drawing hands. I'm not going to be the one to tell you that so you can finally do it, no. But, as I'm finding with my odd, spotty, and random art journey, I think in some aspects, I think we should embrace avoiding the things that we aren't good at, in some capacity. I don't want everybody coming on here like this is a terrible art hot take. Hear me out. When I was redoing the thumbnails for my publication, originally I was going to doodle something to suit what each article was about. I figured that's the easiest way to stand out, right? Hand-drawn doodles. Kind of like what I did for my earlier YouTube thumbnails, which I'll throw up on screen. So I started doing that, and the first one that I went to start with was my article about not being able to access a public washroom during the pandemic, and I really, really needed to go. Which seemed simple. I was going to use the iconic stick man that you find on every washroom and position him in a I gotta go stance. Then add something else to communicate the situation of why he can't go to the bathroom, aka a giant virus clogging the toilet. I thought that this was a foolproof thumbnail idea. It communicated the article's content, and the simplified clip art would appeal to everyone, right? Well, as you've probably seen on screen thus far, I had an exceptionally hard time making it work. Nothing about it looked right. The stick guy was so stiff. The virus was too big and unidentifiable. There was too much blank space I didn't know how to fill or make them fill. And I didn't get it, why this particular and seemingly very easy bit of art was so hard for me. I'd done clip art with digital art before when I was making ribbons for the Story Awards, and they'd been a piece of cake. And slowly it started to click that this was my not style. The clip art that I'd done before was for a realistically proportioned reference. It had a couple degrees of shading. But this was just line work clip art, blobs of black and white. And every little bit of it that was off proportion and not perfectly smooth was overly apparent because there was nothing else going on to hide that. I am not a simplified artist. I'm a realistic but scratchy and a little wonky and not overly stylized or smooth like the bathroom stickman is. And I kind of realized then and there just how hard it would be to make the rest of the thumbnails that I needed, which would be about 100, if I had to not just learn, but actively fight my nature to make them in a clip art style. I was doing something that didn't come naturally, so how on earth did I think I would be able to produce multiple images for these thumbnails with any real amount of cohesiveness? I wasn't. I so wasn't. What I wanted above all else in redoing my thumbnails and that undertaking was to create a consistent theme through everything that I post on that publication, and that wasn't going to happen if I didn't lean into what actually came naturally to me, which apparently is doodling over photographs, adding splashes of singular colors to highlight specific things, and adding handwriting to turn the image into something more. It kind of becomes its own little message or story. You know, picture's worth 1,000 words, but I mean, if you add a couple extra words, I don't know where I was going with that. Anyway, I found that fun, and doing the 100 thumbnails was not just a breeze, but an enjoyable undertaking all of a sudden. For once in my life, I was actually playing while making art, not just forcing my square self through a round hole to get what I wanted in the end. Because I could, and have, through my entire life, forced myself through a medium to get to the end product that I wanted. I never took the time to pay attention to which mediums came to me easier than others, because that wasn't part of the equation. My enjoyment and aptitude never mattered more than the product at the end, and whatever means it required to make that. I'm sure, technically, I could have forced myself to make that clip art thumbnail, and actually made it look decent and proportionate and not absolute total shit. But the investment and energy it would have taken me to do that, how many more hours something so simple would have taken, just wasn't worth it. I think there's value in allowing yourself vetoes on things that you're not inclined towards, if it's for the sake of investing that time and effort towards something that you do like. Of course, there's always value in honing skills that you're not good at, but when you're not actually good at anything, like I am, I think it's better not to force yourself in a direction, because then you'll have a lot harder time finding the direction that you're actually supposed to be heading in. Back to the not wanting to draw hands thing. If you're someone that does not enjoy doing hands and just are generally not good at it, but you really love every single aspect of drawing a figure otherwise, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world if you allow yourself to draw every single part of that character except for the hands if you really want to. If that's what you want to hone in on, if that's what you really love, focus on that, get better at that. And professional artists will tell you not to do this, not to run from your responsibilities, because you can't forever, but I think at a certain point you will want to and force yourself to get better at hands, even if you've decided for years not to do them. Because eventually you will love your figure drawing so much and you will have such a high degree of proficiency for drawing figures that you're not going to want to put shitty hands on them or hide the hands. It just limits you at that point. If you really love doing the one thing that requires the thing that you don't like to do, eventually that thing that you don't like to do will catch up with you, but you will have motivated yourself to want to get better at it. If you're just a beginner, don't hold yourself accountable for every single thing. You have to get good at every aspect of everything. You can't just do disembodied eyeballs and noses. It's just you know what? Fuck it. Do what makes you happy, for as long as it makes you happy. And when you want to do something more serious, when you want to upgrade to being a professional, then you can hold yourself accountable. But until then, and with me specifically, I definitely held myself to standards that I wasn't even supposed to be reaching yet, and that totally ruined my fun of learning or getting better at any specific aspect, because it was oh, you're not allowed to just draw this character. You have to force yourself to draw a background too, or a landscape, or they have to be holding an object or be in a more dynamic pose. And it's just what if I just want to draw a shirt? What if I just want to draw a shirt or a torso? What if I don't want to draw the rest of it? What if that's not appealing to me right now? And then I end up not doing it because I know I'm going to force myself to have to do more than that, which I don't want to do, and then nothing gets done, and art's not enjoyable, and art sucks. Art has been fun for me for pretty much the first time since I was a kid, so I'm just gonna follow that. And I hope that some of you allow yourself that pleasure too. It's not always about the end goal. It's also about the journey, which is really hard to hear and understand sometimes when you see all of these artists making a living and doing so well on social media, but that's their end goal. This is your journey. They are not applicable. To all my fellow square pegs out there, fuck that round hole. We shouldn't want to aspire to fit into that anyways. Let me know in the comments below if you've run into this. When you started doing art, did you find something that you were really, really into, and then some things that you just could not? Because like I said, I didn't know, and I didn't pay enough attention to the things that I liked and didn't like. I just did what I did because I had to. But I'm assuming that normal people have known this all along. They've known this since they were 4 years old. I like drawing animals, or I like drawing people, or I love drawing landscapes. So I'd be interested to hear. Let me know what you're really good at and what you're really no. It's just a hard no for you. And of course, whether you've overcome that and how you've overcome that would also be very helpful. Thanks. As always, thank you so much for watching, listening to my rambles on this one. When it comes to art, I very much am a learning and processing and updating person, so these videos aren't nearly as structured. But I would like to give a special thanks to my patrons, and if you would like to support me and all of my shenanigans, you can find a link to my Patreon in the description below. As always, thanks again so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.